Good morning. It's Tom Padula from TomPadulaTV on YouTube and Insegna Booksellers. And this is lesson number 50, Italian lesson number 50. And today is the 18th of October 2022. And I'm looking forward to today because I'm going to read something from San Francesco d'Assisi because we sort of arriving at the beginnings of the real Italian literature from the vulgus, from the people themselves. And San Francesco d'Assisi wrote this particular poem, Il Cantico delle Creature, in sort of a mixture of Umbro, Toscano, a bit of French, so let me read it, and a bit of Latin as well. Let me read it to you. This cantico is actually, will I say something about it beforehand? Il cantico della creatura è una lode a Dio, al suo operato, alla vita stessa. La natura che viene qui descritta con amore e gratitudine riflette l'immagine del creatore. La lode di San Francesco non ha a che fare con le speculazioni filosofiche, ma è a carattere statico, che segue un percorso attuato per gradi e strutturato come una vera e propria azione liturgica. That's not the way I would have explained it, but anyway, that's the way it is. It is it's praising God, but also highlighting the blessedness of humans for having all the creatures and in the environments in which we live. We are very fortunate in the universe to be able to say that we are chosen in a way to reflect the greatness of God and the need for peace and for respect of the environment and animals and everything else. So let me read you the poem, Il Cantico delle Creature. Altissimo, onnipotente, buon Signore, Tue sole laude, la gloria e onore e onne benedizione. Ad te solo, altissimo, se confano e nulla ome ene digno te mentovare. Laudato sia, mio Signore, cum tutte le tue creature, specialmente messer lo frate sole, lo quale è giorno ed illumini noi per lui. Ed ello è bello e radiante cum grande splendore, de te, altissimo, porta significazione. Laudato sì, mi Signore, per sola luna e le stelle, in cielo l'hai formate clarite e preziose e belle. Laudato sì, mi Signore, per frate vento e per aree e nubilo e sereno e onne tempo, per lo quale alle sue creature dai sostentamento. Laudato sì, mi Signore, per soracqua, la quale è molto utile e umile e preziosa e casta. Laudato sì, mi Signore, per frate fuoco, per lo quale n'allumini la notte e ello è bello e iocundo e robustoso e forte. Laudato sì, mi Signore, per sora nostra madre terra, la quale ne sustenta e governa e produce diversi frutti con coloriti fiori ed erba. Laudato sì, mi Signore, per quelli che perdonano per lo tuo amore e sostengo infirmitate e tribulazioni. Beati quelli che sosterranno in pace, che da te, altissimo, saranno incoronati. Laudato sì, mi Signore, per sola nostra morte corporale, dalla quale nullo uomo vivente può scappare. Guai a quelli che morranno nelle peccati mortali. Beati quelli che trovara nella tua santissima volontà che la morte seconda non farà male. Laudate e benedicetemi, Signore, e ringraziate e serviateli con grande umilitate. Beautiful thoughts, really. I mean, he mentions almost everything that is important in life, really. And the one that strikes more than anything else is that absolute belief that life after death is life. and therefore, one should not be afraid of death, because there is another life afterwards. And people in the Middle Ages believed it. It was quite universal, because the Christianity had been around then for 800 years, and you give in to this philosophy of Christianity, which in general is a very, very good philosophy, and it sort of gives hope to people who don't have much of it. Basically, that's it. So beate al Signore for the sun, the moon, the stars, and the water, and the trees, and the flowers, and the animals, everybody. And blessed are those who practice peace, for they will be incoronati, they will be crowned. So that's it. What a guy, huh? Now we got to continue with San Francesco, okay? San Francesco dunque risolve nel modo più semplice quel problema religioso che sembrava insolubile. Lo risolve assorbendone e sublimandone i termini nella santità, raggiunta e praticata non come guerra al mondo ed alla natura, non come fuga da essi, ma come superamento del dolore e del peccato nell'amore di Dio e delle creature. That was nicely said. A tale ispirazione si informano le laudes latine che di lui ci sono pervenute, l'unica in volgare intitolata Laudes Creaturarum o Cantico di Frate Sole. That's the one I've just read. Non si tratta di versi musicalmente parlando, ma di prosa ritmica, con rime e assonanze in volgare umbro, una specie di salmo biblico, composto senza intenzioni artistiche e destinato agli umili e incolti fedeli del popolo. Talvolta, come si narra San Francesco, improvvisava canti religiosi e li recitava al popolo a guisa di giullare. He used to sing them in public, He'd get the inspiration and go for it. E coloro che in ciò lo imitavano furono chiamati Ioculatores Domini, giullari del Signore, actors of the Lord. Nel cantico di Frate Sole, l'anima di San Francesco, in un'effusione di gioioso amore, abbraccia e ribenedice in Dio tutte le creature e il loro destino. Dinanzi a questo atto di amore, a questo senso profondo della bontà della provvidenza, il male fugge col suo diabolico corteo e il cielo e la terra si avvicinano l'una all'altra e si compongono in soave armonia, e la natura è non soltanto buona ma anche bella. So St. Francis here, through this particular cantico di Frate Sole, il cantico delle creature, got a few names there, but it's the same thing. Welcome to Assunta Lombardi. So San Francesco was quite a giullare, a sort of a domini, Ioculatores Domini, so giullare del Signore. He was a poet, a singer. And he used to do it. He used to be inspired on the moment in the church or in the piazza, wherever he went, because people admired him a lot, especially after he left his father to go ramingo per il mondo, to go around to meet the people. But and people admired him so much in life, and he died early. I think he died 1182. That's 1826. So 1820. He was 44 years old when he died. When San Francesco d'Assisi died. So he's one of the great examples of holiness in our history. And there are others also in other religions as well. Though we can't claim it all. I mean, But, you know, as far as the Christianity is concerned, he's one of those, but he's a universal being, a being of peace. It doesn't matter whether you are Buddhist or you are Muslim or a Jewish, you know, whatever religion you follow. There are great examples of very important people in those faiths. But the most important thing is to have faith. And then the way you practice it is different. But, you know, it's the idea of the world with its many faces. Ok. Dopo la morte del fondatore, l'ordine francescano si divise in due correnti, l'una che voleva mitigare la rigidezza della regola e l'altra che voleva mantenerla nella sua integrità. So, because St. Francis, of course, was an extremist in the way he set his rules, you know, pray and work sort of thing, and be humble all the time. So there's some people said, well, this is too tough. We have to mitigare. We have to make it a bit more palatable. And the others who said, no, you can't do that. We wanted it in the way St. Francis wrote it down. No change. And that's sort of, those are le due correnti in whatever laws that you emanate, really. Di questa, nella sua integrità, so of this one here, di questa, the one that wanted to follow strictly St. Francis of Assisi, si fece praticante e propugnatore l'Umbro, another person from Umbria, Jacopo Benedetti da Todi, popolarmente chiamato Fra Jacopone. And he was born in 1235, so that was, about 9 years. He was born 9 years after the death of St. Francis, and died in 1306, so he was 65 plus 6, he was 71 years old when he died. Fu prima dottore in giurisprudenza ed esercitò l'avvocatura, so he was a lawyer, dedito a vita mondana. He loved, the good times. Ma, come si narra, but as one, these are stories, but, they don't have actual proof, but that's what they say. Quando era sulla quarantina, when he was about 40 years old, un evento eccezionale turbò la sua coscienza. So an exceptional event upset his conscience, made him think. Mentre con la moglie partecipava ad un festino, sprofondò il pavimento della sala. La moglie ne uscì malcongia, tanto da morirne, e Jacopo poté vedere in quell'occasione che la buona donna portava un cilicio sulle carni. La sua anima allora fu invasa dai rimorsi e lo prese un'acre bramosia di soffrire in espiazione dei propri peccati. So he was at a dance on the first floor, and the pavement gave way, and his wife first was hurt and then died as a result, and there was something on her body. Obviously, he hadn't seen it, and so it sort of really shook him. Che la buona donna portava un cilicio sulle carni. La sua anima allora fu invasa dai rimorsi e lo prese un'acre bramosia di soffrire in espiazione dei propri peccati. So he wanted to do some penitence for his sins. Pervenne a un violento disprezzo del mondo e di se stesso, alla santa pazzia. So he began to hate everything that was mundane. What he had loved before, he now hated. So he was attacked by santa pazzia, saintly madness of sanctity. Come egli stesso la definisce, gli suggerì di umiliarsi coprendosi di ridicolo. So he ridiculed himself. Andò carponi per le pubbliche vie. So he was on his knees and sort of from the piazza to the church. He would not walk there, but he would go there on his force. Con un basto sul dorso, and he'd put a heavy weight on his back, e spalmatosi il corpo di una materia vischiosa, si ficcò in un materasso di piume, le quali gli si appiccicarono sulla pelle, e poi andò a mostrarsi alle gente nudo. So it is incredible. Si ficcò in un materasso, he was in a mattress with plumes, feathers, and viscous, with some glue, obviously, attached to his body, and he'd go naked, and then he'd walk around. He must be a mad person, really and truly. That's what people must have thought. But now look at him there. Jacopo, benedetto da tutti. He's a saint now. Entrato nell'ordine francescano come terziario, so he joined the ordine francescano, osò lui che era degli spirituali intransigenti. He was one of the strictest adherent of this philosophy of St. Francis. Avversare decisamente Bonifazio VIII, che favoriva i riformisti. So he went against the Pope, Boniface VIII, who, preferred the reformist Franciscans. Conventuali, congiurando coi colonnesi che era in lotta col pontefice. So he took sides against the Pope. Quando questi furono sconfitti in seguito all'occupazione di Palestrina, Fra Jacopone fu da Bonifazio chiuso in prigione e tenuto per 5 anni. So the Pope put him in prison, and because he took the other side, and kept him in there for 5 years. Not bad. Liberato nel 1303, morì dopo qualche anno in un convento dell'Umbria. So after a few years he died, and we said he died in 1306, so he died 3 years later, after having been imprisoned for 5 years by the Pope. Compose molte poesie in volgare, so he wrote many poems in vulgar language, le quali ebbero larga diffusione, and the people copied them, the other brothers copied them and gave them away. Ma parecchie a lui attribuite sono invece di altri laudesi, ossia compositori di laude. But some of the ones that have been attributed to Jacopo Benedetto da Todi actually belong to other writers of similar inspiration. L'ispirazione di Jacopone oscilla fra due estremi, a volte come nell'audio "O Signor, per cortesia", la frenesia di autopunizione e il sentimento della sproporzione fra la bontà di Dio e l'indegnità dell'uomo lo precipitano in un disordine gagliardo e flagrante. Altre volte, come in O giubilo del cuore, nel suo animo acquietato e quasi stanco, affiora una dolce tenerezza, uno struggimento di intenso mistico amore. So he sort of went from one side where he sort of expressed God's love as against the humans, the human frailties. So, but then in his better times, he wrote in a way that showed a great mysticism and great love for all things, for all living things. Ma la santa pazzia del frate Todino, la santa pazzia, allorché veniva per forza di circostanze in collisione con la realtà del mondo, si rovesciava in aspro risentimento e gli ispirava invettive amarissime, ironiche o sarcastiche, contro la corruzione della Chiesa e dei frati, e contro lo stesso pontefice, o Papa Bonifacio, mortai giocato al monno. So he sort of, in those moments when he expressed his Santa Pazzia against his own Franciscan brothers and the Pope, etc., when they sort of didn't quite agree with him, and of course, he received punishment for it. They didn't talk to him. I don't know what I assume all that. And then he felt resentment. And in those times of resentment, he wrote poems. That's another way of writing. You can write some really some poems that hurt you in the long run because they give you a bad reputation. But you said it, and it's close to reality. So, because it's true, the church, they've always had members who are corrupted. It's a large institution. You expect the good and bad to be in there. So I'm really surprised when someone sort of attacks the church outright. There are good people in there and bad people. You can't put them all together and say that church is all like this, or there's good and bad everywhere. So, e talora finanche il soliloquio, forma più adatta agli spiriti solitari ma intimamente perturbati, gli risolveva in ironia verso se stesso, ad esempio la poesia Che farai fra Jacopone? So sometimes you turn all that angst and resentment towards your own self. So he ridiculed himself. And it's a sort of thing, that's a sort of person that Jacopo Benedetti da Todi was, fra Jacopone. Ad esempio la poesia Che farai fra Jacopone, composta nel carcere. Minor pregio hanno le sue laude di natura didattica o quello che espongono concezioni mistiche di varia provenienza, e così quelle che, sia pure con spirito e movenze personalissime, riprendono temi tradizionali, un contrasto fra anima e corpo, l'abiezione, miseria e meschinità della condizione umana, lo sfacelo ripugnante della vecchiaia e quello orrendo della morte il giorno del giudizio. Abbiamo detto che a Jacopone viene attribuito lo Stabat Mater sul medesimo argomento della crocifissione. Egli compose in volgare una lauda drammatica, bellissima per l'ingenua popolaresca umanizzazione del divino e per la concitazione ed evidenza delle brevi scene. So he wrote also for the theater. The theater occurred in the churches at the time. So he wrote a lauda drammatica, a dramatic praises to the Lord and to other things. Fantastic. Antonio Danzi, welcome. Jacopone, che si era addottorato, era certamente esperto nelle artes dictandi e fornito di vasta cultura, ma il suo disprezzo coinvolge tutto e nel poetare egli vuole essere un rozzo disadorno giullare di Dio. Come tale intende far sentire agli altri le travagliose incertezze della sua anima perché vi si rispecchino. So he was a lawyer. He had a mastery of the language, and he presumably knew Latin very well, because that was the language that was used in the legal system then. But he wanted to be un giullare di Dio, a representative of God on earth, like an actor, like a priest, sort of. That's what he wanted to be, and he was. Perché vi si rispecchia, ma ha da supporre che la sua esperienza mistica fosse troppo personale, troppo avviluppata, e che appunto mancasse della elaborazione artistica necessaria perché i contemporanei la potessero comprendere. So whatever he did, the people at the time could not understand him. He didn't have that, what I call assonanza, that idea of making other people like what he said. He did some strange things, so people look at you, and quite rightly too, but his spirituality shone through eventually to people who appreciated it. And then you reflect on it to say, what did this guy really do? So he was too self-absorbed. That's the accusation. ma è da supporre che la sua esperienza mistica fosse troppo personale, troppo avviluppata e che appunto mancasse della elaborazione artistica necessaria perché i contemporanei la potessero comprendere. Ed anche noi altri moderni che ci siamo affinati nelle analisi psicologiche riusciamo sì a penetrare oltre la scorza di quel rude poetare, ma diciamo che poche volte quel giullare di Dio ci dona vera poesia. So this giullare, this godlike poetry does not, we don't think it's true poetry as such. It's too personal, too whatever. Tali sono almeno le conclusioni cui si è avvicinato dopo un lungo dibattito la migliore critica odierna. So this book here was written probably 78 years ago, so they discussed these things amongst themselves and they came to the conclusion that Jacopo Benedetti da Todi was a bit of a strange character and that whatever he did, even though he represented St. Francis of Assisi quite well, he went a bit too much on the other extreme. Even though St. Francis was pretty extreme himself, but he did it in a nice, soft way. You know, he went to the animals and he was more consistent. That was the difference between the two. Ma esso non tolgono che Jacoponi resti una personalità delle più complesse e potenti, è il più vero e grande dei poeti predanteschi italiani. So there's no doubt that he remains one of the great personalities and also predating Dante as a poet. Next time we're going to go to Guittone d'Arezzo e la scuola di transizione, il dolce stil nuovo. Will be, you know, this keeps going now towards these pages. All are precursors to Dante. Once I finish with these pages here, we'll go to Dante. And we've done Dante quite well over a long period of time, so we might skip him a little bit. We'll see how we go. But that's it for now, for the development of la letteratura italiana over the centuries. Well, that's it now. What do I do here? I'm going to put it over here. Okay. 11:50. That's good. The timing is good. Now I have to read. I read il Cantico della Creatura. We're going to do Speak, Parla, Speak today. Well, now we got to the words, you know, Speak, Parla, Speak. As I said, if you want to, you know, teach someone else Italian, come and get one of these ones. Come and see me. I'll get you organized so that you too can teach some, you know, people in your own family. You don't need to be a teacher to teach. You have to have a willingness to teach. No one-to-one, it's okay. And once you get the right material, then you can use them the way you want. Il corpo. Okay. These are all about developing the word bank in us. Su con la testa, che brutta faccia, hai capelli biondi, hai capelli chiari, i tuoi sono scuri, castani, lei ha gli occhi azzurri, lui li ha scuri, che denti puliti, che belle guance rosse, ecco altre parti del corpo, le orecchie, la fronte, il mento, il collo, la gola, la mano, le mani, il braccio, le braccia, il dito, le dita, i diti dei piedi, il piede, i piedi, il petto, lo stomaco, la pancia, le gambe, il ginocchio, il gomito, the elbow, le unghie, nails. Oh, I always said l'unghia, le unghie, this one here is a bit iffy. La caviglia, l'osso, le ossa, le costole, il cuore, i polmoni. That's some of them, there's a lot more. Chi è il ragazzo coi capelli ricci? Guarda che unghie sporche, non camminare a piedi scalzi, guarda che muscoli. Well, non camminare a piedi scalzi, some people actually say cammina a piedi scalzi. Okay, here we go. I'm going to show you these words. Here we are. Il corpo. So you want to learn some of the words. We've just finished with la letteratura italiana, and if anyone misses out, you can look it up, later as part of this podcast. Okay. So this is welcome to Andrew Padula. Good. Su con la testa. Look, these are the words. Che brutta faccia, tagliati i capelli. And then you got to the other side. Head up, what a sad face, go for a haircut. He has a blonde, light hair. So in other words, you go from one to the other and you try to remember. How do you say head up in Italian? How do you say this? How do you say that? Okay? And these are a good way of building up your word bank in the language. Okay, then when you're ready, it'll come back to you. Chi è il ragazzo coi capelli ricci? Guarda che unghie sporche, non camminare a piedi scalzi. Some people say, don't walk barefoot. Some people say, you should walk barefoot so that your feet get stronger. Except if if there's a glass or whatever, then, you suffer the consequences. So I don't know what to say. Okay, look what big muscles. Yes, guarda che muscoli. Guarda che muscoli. Have to ask Andrew for this. Guarda che muscoli after so much exercise. So that's it for Speak Parla Speak. Just a reminder of what you can do when you come to me and you get yourself in readiness for teaching Italian to somebody else. As I said, you don't have to be a teacher to teach. If you want to, you can impart, where did I put it? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Here. You can impart knowledge regardless. So we've done, now parliamo italiano. There's a nice story here that I had. Here it is. Again, this is part of the reading process that I encourage. Gli occhiali di Arlecchino. This is a little scene of Arlecchino. Here, this is Arlecchino there. Arlecchino and Pantalone. Look at that. See that? So, these are the two characters of Carnevale, and it's quite a long time, and it's Pantalone there. Okay, so here we go. I'm just going to read it. I'm just going to read it. Turn around. That's it. Okay. Il postino. Buongiorno, è lei Arlecchino? Sì, sono io. Il postino, c'è una lettera per lei. Arlecchino says, una lettera per me? Proprio per me? Il postino, sì, proprio per lei. Buongiorno. Arlecchino, buongiorno e grazie. Il narratore, Arlecchino non sa leggere. He receives a letter and he doesn't know how to read. Arlecchino, come faccio ora? Io non so leggere. Ho un'idea. Vado da Pantalone. Il narratore. Arlecchino va dal suo amico Pantalone. Pantalone. Ciao Arlecchino. Ciao, senti, Pantalone, per piacere, leggimi questa lettera. Pantalone. Aspetta un momento, per leggere devo mettere gli occhiali. Pantalone si mette gli occhiali. Ecco fatto. Dunque, caro Arlecchino, ti aspetto questa sera a casa mia per festeggiare Carnevale. Cari saluti, Colombina. That's another character. Arlecchino, grazie Pantalone. Il narratore, Arlecchino torna a casa e pensa. Arlecchino, ora ho capito come si fa. Mi metto gli occhiali e so leggere. Ma io non ho gli occhiali. Come faccio? Ecco, domani vado dal dottore Balanzone. Il dottore mi dà un paio di occhiali, io mi metto gli occhiali e così posso finalmente leggere. Il giorno dopo Arlecchino va dal dottor Balanzone. Arlecchino, buongiorno dottore. Il dottore, buongiorno Arlecchino. Che cosa vuoi? Vorrei un paio di occhiali per leggere. Il dottore, prova questi e leggi questo giornale. He tries them out, ma questi occhiali mi fanno girare la testa. Ah, il dottore, allora sono troppo forti. Prova questi, vanno bene? No, non vedo niente. Allora prova questi, con questi occhiali vedo molto bene. Leggi il giornale? No, vedo soltanto tanti segni neri. Il dottore, dimmi Arlecchino, ma tu sai leggere? Arlecchino, no dottore, per questo sono venuto da lei a prendere gli occhiali. Il dottore, asino, fuori di qui, gli occhiali che vanno bene a te si trovano solamente a scuola. Or somebody can teach you. So there you are. That's how you can learn to read, just by getting a reading glass. Did you like that? That's a good one. Now, after that one there, we come to Rome. Okay? And Rome, we said, there are the five good emperors of Rome. And the reason why I'm doing Rome in the Italian lesson is because Italian is derived from Rome. And in order to understand the Romans, we do a bit of the culture of the Roman history, and then I read some Latin as well. And I'm getting better at it. The five good emperors. Here we go. The senators who had plotted against Domitian had tried to break the pattern of dynastic succession established by Augustus and Vespasian. They elected as emperor a childless and elderly senator named Nerva. To protect himself against being overthrown by the Praetorian Guard and provincial armies, however, Nerva had to create a dynastic heir by adopting Trajan, the powerful general of Lower Germany. Before Trajan could even get to Rome to greet his new father, Nerva died. Trajan showed great respect for the Senate, and grateful senators gave him the title Optimus Princeps. Principe Ottimo, you know. He revived the expansionism of the old republic by conquering Dacia, Armenia, Mesopotamia and Assyria. Mate, he travelled far and wide. No wonder the senators loved him. He wasn't there when he was needed. Dacia was rich in gold, but Trajan's rapid expansion dangerously overextended the empire's borders and exhausted him just before his heart failed in 177. How old was he? He adopted his son-in-law Hadrian as his heir. So he did what his father did to him. He did the same thing to Hadrian. Hadrian upset many senators when he concluded that it was necessary to abandon most of Trajan's conquests except for Dacia. He concentrated his efforts on building strong, fixed defensive boundaries, such as his famous wall in Britain, the wall of Hadrian. His one major war was fought in Judea against a new rebellion. After his victory, he founded a Roman colony on the site of Jerusalem and further scattered the Jewish people from their ancient home. Hadrian had taken more power away from the Senate, and when he suppressed a senatorial plot near the end of his life, he alienated the Senate even more. When he died, the senators tried to withhold the honour of deification. They said, he's not a god, he can't be a god. They used to make them gods, the emperors of Rome. Since Hadrian had no children, he had adopted Titus Aurelius Antoninus as his heir. Antoninus earned the the surname, Pius, by persuading hostile senators to deify Hadrian in return for concessions that would restore some of the Senate's lost prestige. You do that for me, I do this for you. And he succeeded. Antoninus ruled benignly and lived a simple life of Roman modesty. The momentum that had been built up by Trajan and Hadrian carried the empire safely through his long and peaceful reign, and he left the biggest surplus that the treasury had ever seen. And they used to collect the taxes from everywhere around the empire. So this guy here, you know, he was one of those conservatives. He loved a good, simple life, and he left the Romans rich, the Roman governments of the future. Unfortunately, while he was content to stay in Italy and tend his country estate, hostile forces were massing just beyond the imperial frontiers. So in other words, okay, you live in peace, but then the people outside of your empire want a piece of the cake. His son-in-law and adopted son, Marcus Aurelius, had to deal with the first in a series of unprecedented military crises that almost led to the empire's destruction during the 3rd century after Dominus, after Christ. Well, this happened later, just a century later. It happened anyway. During the reign of the 5 good emperors, the Roman Empire reached the height of its peace and prosperity under rulers who promoted the public welfare and patronized literature and the arts. Nerva and Trajan established the Alimenta, a welfare program for orphans that also provided investment for agricultural development. Trajan and Adrian founded and beautified cities all over the empire. Many monuments, such as the Trajan's Column, which depicts the Dacian War, Trajan's Market, Hadrian's Villa at Tivoli, his domed Pantheon, which I've been in there, his temple to Venus and Rome, and his tomb, the Castel Sant'Angelo, still stand. They were massive works, massive. The emperor's concerns for good government are revealed in the letters of Pliny the Younger. That's a writer who was favoured by Trajan. And they also lived very well because they used to give them, money and prestige if you were a writer, a good writer. Marcus Aurelius was devoted to Stoic philosophy, and in his meditations he left behind a much admired testament to his fortitude and commitment to a moral life in the face of continuous warfare against barbarian enemies, a disastrous plague, court intrigue and treachery. So Marcus Aurelius was quite an emperor. And I'm going to show them the faces. This is Trajan, and this is Marcus Aurelius. There you are. They used the money, their money. That's how they popularized their faces and respect for them, etc. So that's it. Now, I'm going to read you, looking forward to the games. I think I've read this before, but I'm going to read it just straight through. Postri diet dum Gaius Cornelius in tablino scribit, subito intravit Titus frater eius. Salve Gai, clamavit Titus, quid agis? Bene, respondit Cornelius, sed semper sum, ut vides negotiosus. Cui tu Titus, pro certo, habeo te cras non lo laboraturum esse, omnes enim cives Romani ad munera ituri sunt, spero te quoque ad munera iturum esse. At Cornelius munera inquit, quid dicis mitite? Prodi mortales exclamavit Titus, cras Caesar amphitheatrum aperiet novum, tu tamen rogas quid dicam. Cornelius autem cum risu, non ne sentis me por iocum hoc dixisse, certe hic dies maxime omnium memorabilis erit, constat servos strenue laboravisse, et amphitheatrum summa celeritate concefisse, martialis epigrammata de spectaculis iam scribit, plurimi gladiatores mox clamabunt, ave imperator morituri te salutant. So this is the Latin. I'm going to show the Latin. That's where Italian comes from. So I've read it up to salutant there. So I'll do that with you. But I can't do it properly when I do this. Cui Titus me Hercule totum populum continebit hoc amphithearum, cras mane vie erunt plene hominum qui ab omnibus partibus ad spectaculum congrendientur. Itac inquit Cornelius, puto tamen Aureliam ea non iuram esse, scis enim, tamen mecum sum doctorus, iam adolescens est, et mox taugam virilem sumet, sextus autem quod ad hoc puer est, domi manebit nam ut docet Seneca, quo maior populus eo plus periculi, quota ora tu ad amphitheatrum cras mane es iturus. As you can see, some of the words you'll be able to understand, but not many. And plus, you notice the verbs always come at the end of the sentences. So that's for Rome. That's another one. Now, the next lot, of course, is my songs all'improvviso. Now, with the songs all'improvviso, I'll do a song and then I'll do one of my poems. The songs all'improvviso I use in Italian classes now to extrapolate, to get the words out of them so that you can build up your word bank in your brain, and then eventually, with a bit of grammar, you'll be able to speak Italian quite fluently. But you need the practice. This poem, this song here is called Nicola di Bari, Chitarra suona più piano. And these are the lyrics, okay? Should I show you the lyrics? I'm not sure, but I'll do it anyway. Here. Let's see. Okay, the best thing to do, of course, is when I give you the title, Chitarra suona più piano, just go to Google and write down the song name and the lyrics, and then you'll get the words. Otherwise, I've got problems here, because then I have to hold this and read. Chitarra suona più piano, qualcuno può sentire, soltanto lei deve capire, lei sola deve sapere che sto parlando d'amore. Cantano i grilli nel grano e un passero sul ramo, nessuno dorme questa sera, nemmeno lei a quest'ora, stringe il cuscino e sospira. La luna è ferma nel cielo, la lucciola sul melo, chitarra mia suona più piano, anche se incerta la mano, suona chitarra che l'ora. L'ora di darle tutto il bene che ho nel cuore, di dirle addio per sempre o perdonare, e amarla come un altro non sa fare. L'ora di respirare un sorso d'aria pura, un prato è verde quando è primavera, il sole è caldo e poi scende la sera. Per noi la notte odora di fieno, io dormo sul tuo seno. Dio, come batte il suo cuore, la gente sogna a quest'ora, dormi chitarra che è l'ora. L'ora di darle tutto il bene che ho nel cuore, di dirle addio per sempre o perdonare, e amarla come un altro non sa fare. L'ora di respirare un poco d'aria pura, un prato è verde quando è primavera, il sole è caldo e poi scende la sera. L'ora di darle tutto il bene che hanno al cuore, di dirle addio per sempre o perdonare, e amarla come un altro non sa fare. L'ora di respirare un poco d'aria pura, un prato è verde quando è primavera, il sole è caldo e poi scende la sera. La 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 la. They're good songs, these ones. Nicola Di Bari, really, they're good songs because they tell a good story, and they also, you can use them for teaching others Italian. Chitarra, suona più piano, qualcuno può sentire, capire, the verb sapere, parlando d'amore, i grilli nel grano, un passero sul ramo. Nessuno dorme questa sera. Nessuno dorme questa sera. You can use that with any. I'm going to read you one of my poems, and then I'll go on with the next song, which is called Come pioveva. Nice, another beautiful song. Here is one of my poems here. It's called Dono di dentro. Cos'è che noi possiamo donare di noi stessi agli altri? Che cosa abbiamo nel bagaglio delle nostre valigie piene di esperienze, di contenuti, di idee espresse e tante ma tante sommesse? Quando ci chiediamo dove possiamo noi trovare la felicità, la soddisfazione, sicuramente sentiamo nel nostro intimo la presenza di quella umanità che vibra fuori della nostra esistenza come una massa da conoscere per farci conoscere meglio. Sì, l'atto di donare, di fare per gli altri, è la necessità di sentire le varie reazioni, a volte positive, in altre negative, che il nostro operato acquista fra la gente. Le intenzioni sono sempre buone? È quello che gli altri hanno veramente di bisogno? O è quello che tu vuoi per poi imporre sugli altri le tue preferenze, i tuoi modi di fare? La nostra creatività ci insegna a volte tante cose varie che normalmente ci sono escluse durante la vita quotidiana. Quando vogliamo dare, dobbiamo imparare a riflettere su quello che diamo e perché, in quello che gli altri di noi in verità hanno bisogno per rendere la loro vita più ricca, più varia e più piena di felicità. Quando noi vogliamo dare, dobbiamo imparare a risentire di ricevere in modo uguale lo stesso che noi doniamo. That's a nice poem that you need, that can be very useful. Should I read it in English now? Page 35. Okay, and that's the beauty of this. I go to page 35, and there is my gift from within. Isn't that beautiful? Yeah. There you are. You go from page to page. A lot of work went into this, but it was worth it. I'd love to do my other poems now, but. What can we give of ourselves to others? What do we have in the luggage of our suitcases full of experiences, of content, of expressed ideas, and so many others submerged? When we ask ourselves, where can we find happiness, satisfaction, surely we feel in our intimate self the presence of that humanity that vibrates outside of our existence, like a mass to get to know in order to make us know better. Yes, the act of giving to do for others is the necessity to feel various reactions, at times positive, sometimes negative, that our work gains amongst the people. Are the intentions always good? Is it what others really have need of? Or is it that which you want to then impose on others, your preferences, your ways of doing? Our creativity teaches us sometimes so many varied things that normally are excluded from us during our daily life. When we want to give, we must learn to reflect on what we give and why, in that which others from us in reality have need to make their life more rich, more varied, more full of happiness. When we want to give, we must learn to feel, to receive in the same equal manner that which we are giving. So in other words, when you give, you need to receive in the same equal manner. You know, sometimes we give with the best of intentions and it's got the wrong result. Next one is Come Pioveva. It's a song that, well, I'm just going to sing it now. Otherwise, I'll take it out. Maybe I'll take it out. I don't know. Yes, okay. Well, I've got both of them now, so I can actually show them to you. But the writing of this one here is not very clear. It's, yeah, I'll show you. If you want to look it up, Come Pioveva, lyrics, go to Google, bring it up, and then you can follow me. Okay? So here we go. It's a beautiful poem. A song, and a poem too. It is like a poem. C'eravamo tanto amati per un anno e forse più, c'eravamo poi lasciati, non ricordo come fu, ma una sera ci incontrammo per fatal combinazione, perché insieme riparammo per la pioggia in un porton, elegante nel suo velo, con un bianco cappellin, dolci gli occhi suoi di cielo, sempre mesto il suo visin. Ed io pensavo ad un sogno lontano, a una stanzetta, ad un ultimo piano, quando d'inverno al mio cor si stringeva, come pioveva, come pioveva. Come stai? Le chiesi a un tratto. Bene, grazie, disse. E tu? Non c'è male. E poi distratto, guarda che acqua viene giù. Che mi importa se mi bagno? Tanto a casa devo andare. Ho l'ombrello, t'accompagno. Grazie, non ti disturbar. Passa a tempo una vettura. Io la chiamo, lei fa no. Dico, oh via, senza paura. Su, montiamo. E lei montò. Così pian piano io le presi la mano, mentre il pensiero vagava lontano, quando d'inverno al mio cor si stringeva, come pioveva, come pioveva. Ma il ricordo del passato fu per lei il più gran dolor, perché al mondo aveva dato la bellezza ed il candor. Così quando al suo portone un sorriso mi abbozzò, negli occhi di passione una lacrima spuntò. Io non l'ho più riveduta, se felice chi lo sa, ma se ricco se perduta, e l'ognor rimpiangerà. Quando una sera, in un sogno lontano, nella vettura io le presi la mano, quando salvare l'ancor si poteva, come pioveva, così piangeva. That's a beautiful, beautiful song and poetry. And you notice that I sort of switched from the singing to the poetry. I think that's a good method. Thank you to Domenico Modugno. He sort of used it initially in 1958. Yeah, it was very good. But this song here, I think it comes from the 1920s or the 30s, Come Pioveva, maybe the 30s. Then from Come Pioveva, one of these days I will also talk about the Italian singers themselves, their life stories. Because the Italian singing tradition, composition too, is quite recent. And Domenico Modugno started the trend. Before that, they're very formal, you know, they kept the writing of the lyrics on one side and the music on the other, and they did a very good job too. But when Domenico Modugno arrived, he started to use his own words and his own music. That doesn't mean he didn't do the other one as well, but he followed them as well, because there's room for the professional approach and there's room for the inspirational approach. Why not? Okay, now before I do the next one, I just want to. This is lesson number 50, and we're doing the history of Italian literature. Obviously, they probably. Well, we'll see how we go to lesson 60 to see how much of the literature, the history of Italian literature I can do. And then we'll revise it at the time. So for now, just let's enjoy the next 10 lessons and then we'll see how we go. Also, can I remind you that we're doing a Canto 15 of Purgatorio by Dante Alighieri next Sunday. Beautiful, the Dante poems, L'Inferno, Purgatorio, and Paradiso. Very interesting, honestly. I recommend it. Of course, then there's also world history, and I've gone past lesson 50. Now we've done the Middle Ages, and now we're doing the Crusades. So that's a nice area of history that we're covering, and then finally French and Spanish, and they're coming up all right as well on a Friday. So I hope that people, when you see my podcasts, I do hope that you share my work, because I think it's educational in nature, and I don't get, it's not like musicians. You get hundreds of thousands of people watching you. Here, it's, it's sort of a day-by-day sort of activity. But it actually delivers certain things to you that will make you improve your own personal education over time. Education is for life. It's not just for school. That's the philosophy that I am actually expounding now at the University of the Third Age, because the state does pay for education, but it ought to put more of its resources, and the Commonwealth too, towards education for adults. And it doesn't matter which subject it is. At the beginning, it's very important that people experience the beginning of the knowledge of particular areas. So if you want to do chemistry, for example, it's good to get a bit of an overview straight away. Physics, what's the difference? And then if you want to go into it, then you can take on a course and you can pay for it. But the state should offer, for the initial stages, this sort of opportunity for other people. Okay, now on this note, there's a guy called Peppino di Capri, obviously from Capri, who's got a few good songs. One of them comes to mind is Roberta, and the other one that I like a lot is Champagne. This one is called Un grande amore e niente più. And when you go to, not Google, to YouTube, and you look up Peppino di Capri, you can actually listen to these three songs. Champagne, Roberta, and Un grande amore e niente più. And he's a marvelous pianist. Very good. Really, a real contribution. Grazie Peppino di Capri. Auguri, eh? Un grande amore e niente più. Io lontano da te, pescatore lontano dal mare. Io chiedo da bere da una fonte asciugata dal sole. Solitudine e malinconia, i soprammobili di casa mia. Qualche libro, una poesia, e sul piano una fotografia. Io e te, un grande amore, niente più. Io e te, le nostre corse fin laggiù, là dove c'è la capanna scoperta da noi, dove tu mi dicesti vorrei, amore, stasera vorrei. Notti, notti d'amore, nel silenzio il mio nome, il tuo nome, ma non risale l'acqua di un fiume e nemmeno il tuo amore ritorna da me. Solitudine e malinconia, in ogni angolo, in ogni via, ti rimprovero una sola cosa, che potevi almeno dirmi scusa. Io e te, un grande amore, niente più. Io e te, le nostre corse fin laggiù, là dove c'è la capanna scoperta da noi, dove tu mi dicesti vorrei, amore vorrei, stasera vorrei. Io e te, un grande amore, niente più. Io e te, le nostre corse fin laggiù, le nostre corse fin laggiù, io e te, io e te. That's it for, isn't it incredible? I finished exactly at 12:30 p.m. So io e te, io e te is only me here, e te there, on your own. That's the advantage of having the iPhones and using them in a very, humble way, in a way, but it does the job. And the main thing is that you get something out of it. And I encourage everyone, especially people in the third generation, to actually become more familiar with technology. And for that, I have one Sunday afternoon. In fact, this coming Sunday, I'll be at Federazione Lucana for another one of my sessions with Choral Improviso. If you come, we can chat about this work of mine, but I need a group of people that will follow what I am doing for intellectual purposes. And again, I have Insegna Booksellers here, and it does need your support, because without support, you feel a little bit let down. You do all this, but as I said before, I do this for me. So because I do it for me, then I've got to expect what I expect. Okay, on that note, thank you very much for being with me today. And when you come, because over the last week, I count the number of people on YouTube only. On YouTube, it's about 250 to 300, 400 people coming through for the full, my full lessons podcasts. And I encourage people to share my work. What else is there that I wanted to say? Maybe I will reserve that for next time. In the meantime, have a good week. See you next time for the next Italian lesson. Thursday, World History. Friday, French and Spanish and Portuguese. And Sunday, of course, Dante Alighieri. Ciao! From Tom Padula of TomPadulaTV on YouTube and Insegna Booksellers.